Morning, chameleons, and my favorite chameleon, Dimitri Pargamonic, about to appear in 1 second. There he is. Hey, Dima.
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Great. You want to get right to the disclaimer? What do you think?
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I, Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not broker dealers. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional help, call your broker. That's what they're there for, to help answer your questions and provide you with guidance. There's the disclaimer.
Excellent. Quite a storm last night, huh, buddy?
Yeah, I heard it was pretty bad, especially, I think, in New Jersey. Right? Where did it hit?
Burlington County. They're calling it the Mullica Hill storm. So it moved right up from southern Burlington County all the way near to Camden. Roofed off houses and really terrible. But the river now, the Schuylkill, the Delaware are super high and aren't supposed to crest till this afternoon. So for those in the Philadelphia, New York metropolitan area, it was quite a night, quite a night. So what are you seeing today, buddy? What are we doing?
I think today what we'll do is I'm going to go over a couple things. These are kind of new features that we added, and it's looking for large volume prints. And it's a little bit when we talked about yesterday, when we take data, and to get a little bit more meaningful information, sometimes you have to tag the data in a certain way so you could isolate it and kind of assess the data on its own. So, you have a lot of data sometimes in aggregate, but when you look deeper in it, you might find a different picture. And what I'm going to look at today is large volume prints and what they could potentially, signal, or what can they be telling us. And I know that I talk to people, a lot of people just call me in private, talk about, trading strategies, successes, and a lot of people don't want to come on the show, obviously, and talk about it, but I try to kind of point people, I'm not giving away anybody's secret sauce, but point people into things that, I think that are important in ways that you could start analyzing the data, so that's what we're going to look at today. Is we're going to look at a couple stocks. I'm going to show you actual stocks, what happened to the stock, what happened prior to the stock, like what kind of trades that were interesting that happened prior to bigger moves. These are scans that I kind of did some simple scans yesterday. And part of it is also, we are working on some new features where it's going to be an alert system, and it's a centralized alert system, because what I think now is that there are so much data coming in. We have so many different reports. And one thing that may be missing is kind of like just a centralized alert system. So I am working on that. It's pretty hard. I'm testing things out. Whenever you have it, sometimes, things, when you get alerted to, you have to take it out because I'm like, oh, well, this is an exception here. We don't need that. So that's taken a little bit longer time, but, as I'm building it, I'm kind of just showing you, like, things that may be important to look at. Okay. So before I get started on that, let's just take a quick look on the pre-market report, and then I'm going to jump into that large volume prints, and how do we detect them. So here on the pre-market report, right now, these are stocks trading in the pre-market hours. We have the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. Down here, I see 79 stocks made our percentage gainers list, 27 on the percentage decliners list. So from that perspective, it looks like more of a bullish bias at the open. The lists aren't huge, but nevertheless, more bullish bias than bearish. Let's take a look at the higher market cap stocks, 20 billion or higher. And here we see, hold on, I got to refresh my screen. I think it kind of goes stale when I have it up for a while. So we'll take a look at the higher market cap stocks, 20 billion or higher. And then here we see 26 made our percentage gainers list, 8 on a percentage decliners list. So from that perspective, a little bit more bullish at buys at the open, but not very big lists. Okay, so when we talked about data yesterday, we talked about cleaning up the data, tagging the data, and to get more meaningful information. You could go look at the video from yesterday. And sometimes what we're looking for is a clue, right? A clue. And one of the clues could be where there's a large volume, big money moving into something. And sometimes things move into weakness, right? So sometimes you see large money move into weakness. Sometimes you see things that a large volume, unusual large volume, and we're talking about stocks here that are cleaning up, potentially like a resistance level, cleaning up, and all of a sudden, that the book becomes very weak, right, on the resistance side. So I did run a scan. I ran an internal scan, and one of it is, it was brought to my attention, we have some customers who are very successful, have been using Market Chameleon for years, right? So, and they contact me, they tell me sometimes their stories, or take a look at this, Dimitri, take a look at that. And I try to get them to come on a show. People are, I have one person who might come on a show, very successful, like, life-changing stuff. I'm trying to, and I think maybe this one person will come on a show, kind of share his story and ideas and trading strategies. But, just to share some of the points with the community, I'm gonna give you a very successful trade somebody did yesterday, okay, and similar scans. So this one was, the first one was in the stock PDD, okay. So and in PDD, this is some of the stuff that was unusual that tipped a person off. And so one thing I'm going to show you is that the first thing, let me just come down to here, is looking at very big, large volume trades at the open and close. So the open and close, remember, it's a rotation, right? So it works differently than regular hours trades where, there's a bid and an offer, and you're matching up bids and offers with orders, and those match up regular way. The opening closing rotation works very differently. You have orders that are queued up, that are not matched up, right? And when they're queued up and you've got an overwhelming amount maybe on one side or the other side, the specialist has to determine where to close those, where to put up that print. Sometimes he has to do it at a price where he's willing to take some of his inventory as well to provide liquidity, or he has to go and find this liquidity somewhere else. And we're looking at something like pretty unusual happening that could signal like, hey, could be at the beginning of a move here, because a lot of stock transferred hands. So here's one, PDD, and I'm showing over here on August 31st, there's a huge volume at the close. You see that big spike right there, much higher than usual. Let's just take a look here. 1.3 million shares traded at that closing price. So that's one, right, closing rotation. It's not like over a minute, 2 minutes. That's one closing rotation at the close, traded here, 102. You see where it traded the day before. So a lot of stock right there traded hands. And you could see here how it looked every other day, right? So much higher than we've seen. So that's one thing we're paying attention to over here. There were some other stuff going on, maybe in the pre-market volume at the open. I think that let me just see it here. Not so much here at the open, maybe a couple over here, but this one was like caught somebody's attention. And I'm going to show you similar situations. So then coming back to here, what happened yesterday was another thing that was peculiar. And there was two things that happened very close together in time. Large volume option trades, big call purchases, and almost very close in time, I think almost simultaneously, very large stock trades, big sweep trades. Like, here you see that volume. Well, that spike in volume, when we go back to look at it, was very large block trades, right? They happened in, let me take a look here. So you can see here, these are the total volume in block trades yesterday, but they were happening right around this time. You see, like, single trades in the millions, right? So that would be very unusual, where you see usually 100 lot, 1,000 lot. You're talking about here, one trade, $3 million, one trade, $5 million worth, so very big lot trades happening at the same time as big option trades happening. So I'm not going to, just to go over some more symbols, you guys know where to find those large block trades, from the options block trade screener. You can find those large big block trades here, or under the big money stock flow. Okay, here I'll just show you yesterday's. I got to come back. I think this was yesterday's. So PDD. So here's those PDD yesterday. Hold on, sorry, that's today's. So these were yesterday's. Some very big trades going on, right? 5 million, 4.8 million. I mean, these would be something you would almost see, like an Amazon or something, that this is happening. So one of the things, you still want to build a story. I know PDD, what I noticed is that something very similar was happening in Alibaba, and PDD it's also Chinese stock. We know that they've been very weak because of the regulation and stuff, but very similar. Something happened like that in Alibaba yesterday, last couple of days. So let me just see that. So we had some big ones up here. And I think yesterday this came out on my scan, where at the, just to save some time, I'm going to get to more stocks, but like right a couple times around here and here, that there's big option block trades and very nearby big sweep stock trades. Okay, given a signal. So what other stocks happened yesterday? I'm just going to go through the stocks first to go really quickly, and maybe then we'll kind of get into one. And I wanted to leave some time for questions. These are the ones that came up on my internal scan, right? That I'm trying to build that alert system. So I'm going to go down the line. Coinbase, that one hit yesterday. See here, Coinbase. Let me see what it did on the open close. Not sure. Maybe one up here. The other one that hit yesterday, my scan, Netflix. Right around here. See these big volume? And you could correlate it in time with big volume option trades, right? So remember, very large, trades that would be out of control of a regular person, right? You'd have to have a lot of money to move this stock. mRNA also hit yesterday, mRNA. So here's one that hit, and this one also hit the open close. So you see right here, August 31st, really big volume at the close, right? And then there's that follow through. So the interesting thing about the close is that, there are certain certain institutions can only trade on the close, right? Like, mutual funds and stuff. But there's also at the close, if you got orders that couldn't get cleaned up on a VWAP, they try to get that crossed right at the close. So see here, very large volume at the close, right? So that's in, what's that, Moderna. Let me see, another one that happened, I think it was SE. See here, very big volume right at the close, 4.6 million, way higher than anything here. Let's see what happened to it following that day. So it hit, I think, right around the opening. I think there were big volume in the options and in the stock. MA. Sorry, I made notes, kind of scribbled it. Right around here, MA. Let me just take a look here. Same thing on the open and close. So this was interesting, right? A very big trade at the open, right? So here, volume at the open. Remember, for this stock, very big. It's a high price stock, $350, 150,000 at the open. You see the pre-market, not that much trading, but a lot of orders queued up right there at the open where they crossed. There's one that showed up the other way with a big order, but a big put. I think it was this one. So this one had some big volume at the close, but yesterday I think it showed up the other way. So you got a big volume trade, and I think a big put traded at the same time here. So again, what we're doing is we're looking for certain prints, right? Where, well, these are very big trades, and why are they happening in different marketplaces, and how's that stock reacting? And we're taking the data instead of in aggregate. There's maybe here, let's come back to PDD. So in aggregate, I see 166,000 contracts traded, right? But what about the details of that? What was going on? So I'm going to come back here in option block trades. So this is yesterday's. So so I'm going to just scan. Let me just set this up. I think it was options trades above 100,000. I think the trade condition, auto execution, intermarket sweep. I think the quantity was about open interest. Let me see. So here in PDD, all right, what are we seeing is these big call trades happening in a very short term, September 3rd, right? Big trades at $2, but you can see here, $286,000 worth of calls, 293, 294, and there wasn't that much open interest on this line to start with. So that could be one clue that somebody is trying to accumulate. But let's just take a look at now the stock. Wait, did you see the time period? It was like around 10 o'clock, right?
Looked around 10, yeah.
So I'm going to go here. Let's go back to yesterday. I'm going to go to PDD. Let's look at stock. See above 1 million. So you could see here, actually it's even earlier than, all of a sudden what's going on, right? These are very big, big block trades happening. These are contingent. I'm going to take out the contingent ones. So let's just take a trade. Let's look at sweep. So a couple sweep orders here. Let's look at regular trades. So you got some big regular trades going on here in the dark pool, right? So these are getting matched up, right? In those off floor exchanges where somebody's finding liquidity on those off floor exchanges and grabbing that liquidity, right? So you can see here how they're grabbing it as the price is moving higher. Does that kind of make sense? You know, how we're looking at that volume, how it's progressing, and how it's happening, grabbing liquidity in different marketplaces. Is that making sense? So
I think that makes sense for everyone, D.
Okay.
Everyone's finding it very interesting.
Okay. So if there are questions, I'll take some questions now, Will. I do have to head out a little bit earlier today. If there are no questions, I might just kind of stop there. But if there are questions, I'll take them now.
Well, if anyone has any questions, and I'm assuming questions because people are talking about positions they've seen, and Andy Swartz had seen something in the options. I don't know if you want to look at it. BBI,
Sure.
I think it was where was Andy? Andy was a BBIQ. I think he was.
Oh, hey, Andy. By the way,
BBIG.
Andy's a relative of mine. You know that Andy's a relative of mine. He uses the website. I think, yeah. So, hey, Andy. So Andy is my cousin's son.
Gotcha. Well, he's got a position on.
Huh? Okay.
He's got a position on and was interested. It's BBIG. He's seen some unusual option activity, some in the money call. It's a series of comments. Andy, I don't know. I mean, maybe we can follow this up tomorrow. He can come on live. But anyways, he also noted some words issued. I mean, he's really doing his research. Looks like he may have a little bit of a position in BBIG. But anyways, there was some unusual option activity he picked up on yesterday. I don't know if you see
definitely
anything.
If Andy is welcome to, I'd like to hear like Andy's perspective. I know he is, getting really into the stocks and options, and it's, I think he's not, maybe even a year into it yet, or maybe like already a year into it. So I'd like to hear his perspective and what he's seeing. So if you could come on the show, that would be great. Maybe we could do that tomorrow. But I think that actually a couple people were looking at this BBIG, noticing some unusual types of volume coming in. Let me just take a look at the block trades, how they're progressing. So, I mean, I'm seeing. Look, very recently, right? Very recently, we're seeing like some pretty, and remember, these are looking at volume of only block trades, right? I think $250,000 or more in a single trade. So I am seeing some pressure here. I'm not sure exactly what the story is. I would still want to go and take a look at what the story is behind the stock. And I'd like to hear Andy's perspective too. That's always interesting to me as well. What he's seeing, what he's reading about the stocks. So if Andy would come on, that would be great.
All right. So Andy, it's an open invitation. Obviously, it's still fresh, so we could maybe talk about it tomorrow. If you have interest, you can email support@MarketChameleon.com and we'll put out the link in the morning. So if you come on, we'll look at it. If not, we'll do something else tomorrow. But thanks.
I'll take a closer look at it too, just to read the story. What's the driving force behind it? We could, if Andy doesn't come on, I'll do a little bit of research.
And obviously, if he's related to you, you can just call him and force him on. So either way, it would be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Andy, it was great commentary by all the chameleons today. A lot of good chat. Goat was back on, which is always a pleasure to have Goat in the house. Ahmed arrived today, which is great. And then all the regular chameleons who make it such a nice event. D, great job.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining today. Stay safe out there. I hope you guys have a good trading day, and hope to see you guys tomorrow.
Trade in peace, chameleons. We will see you tomorrow.